In a world ravaged by time and chaos, where stories are the only surviving relics, welcome to Loot, Lore, and Lights. This is your sanctuary in the wasteland, a place to uncover forgotten treasures, unravel ancient myths, and find fragments of hope in the glow of flickering screens. My name is Adam, and I'll be your guide through this crumbling landscape tonight as we talk about a game and a series. We're going to sift through the ashes, piece together the tales that remind us of what once was and what could still be. The signal is weak, but the stories are strong. Hello and welcome everybody to your episode for Loot, Lore, and Lights. I am joined by my brother in arms today. His name is Gerald. Gerald, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, this is Gerald back again. You can say what a J, for those who's old time listeners, but I'm just here.
That's right. He and I used to do a different show together, kind of taking this new adventure now, focusing on gaming and movies, TV shows, books, just really anything and not just being tied down to one thing. Tonight, Gerald had his own opinions for The Last of Us. He saw the episode for The Last of Us and he had something that he wanted to talk about. So I said, why don't you hop back on here and join me like you did in the old days? And we'll get our discussion rolling. First things first, Gerald, I want to know, did you play The Last of Us video games?
It depends on which ones, because they seem like they keep coming out every year after year. I recall we're playing the first one in 2013. It was called The Last of Us, not The Last of Us Remastered for the PlayStation 3 or 4 or 5. Oh, yeah, I played it back in 2013. Maybe dabbled into it back in, when The Last of Us 2 came out. I went back and played a little bit of it, so yes.
I actually remember one of the first times that you played it was, one of our buddies, Big Dave, was with us. And it was after a night of complete and total chaos where we spent the next day recovering. And, Dave, you and I took turns passing the controller back and forth.
Yeah, that was some good times. Yeah, that was, I think we ended up playing for about easily 12, 14 hours that day.
Had to be. It was definitely good memories. So, you talked about playing the original game. And I think it's funny that you put that out there as like, I played the first one. I don't know about the remaster or the remaster or The Last of Us Part 1 PS5 or whatever other new word they're coming up with to resell these games. What was your favorite part when it came to the first game?
On the first game, it was, I would say the story was appealing, but the gameplay actually pulled you into it. There was, you was crafting. I wasn't a real big, I don't want to tell you, PC open world role player at the time. So crafting wasn't, basically you just click on something. Games I used to play anyway. You just click on it like, oh yeah, you craft this and you might get a reward and you get to use it. But on The Last of Us, there was components that you had to do to make your certain weapons. So I thought that was awesome how they improvise that into the gameplay.
That's actually a very interesting point. That is not something that I talked about in my solo episode about The Last of Us. There were definitely crafting components in it in both the first and second games that, I guess it was such a small feature that I didn't even pay attention to it. But for someone, who's not really into doing that kind of thing, it's neat that you kind of picked up on that and that was a big piece for you. I know that you played the first game, and I know you compared it to the series as it was coming out. Was there anything that you didn't like that with the liberties they took with the series as opposed to playing through the first game?
Let's see. I like to talk about this a little bit because we're seeing so many other adaptations, not adaptations, more games coming to film or books coming to film, and we get these, I'm one of them. I get a love of a series and then you get it on film and you see it. That's not how that's supposed to be. Yeah, you get that feeling. But I think HBO even with their liberties they took for it, they did a good job. There was what I say. Did it bring the game more to life to people that don't play games? That would be a yes. I think it's more on the fact like if it was a book or a novel or a novel series, then it would be a little bit more liberated. I didn't really find too much wrong with the show's version of it, if that's what I'm trying to get to. Yes.
Yeah, I know the only really big thing I didn't like about it was changing the tendrils to spores. I spoke about that in my episode, and I
Yes.
didn't like, yeah, and I didn't like how they took away the interaction you get between Ellie and Bill. But for what it's worth, I did also talk about that Bill and Frank episode. There was enough in there, especially just that standalone episode. It keeps the people who've played the games still invested in the show because there's enough new in there that you may not quite know what is about to happen. You know how it'll end, but you don't know how we're gonna get there.
Oh, right. Yeah. Like I enjoyed I enjoyed watching. Actually, you know what? I think we got a different take on that one about the spores and I forgot what they call it in the show now.
Tendrils.
The tendrils, yes. Um, for I think they try to take it a little bit more of a real life um, aspect because they did say they did research about the fungi that grew over 4 miles in one development and how they interact because they are living. I will say I can enjoy it. It did seem like it was too much from the spores. Um, just with the spores, you knew what was going on. Now the show is kind of just basically like you just see a finger twitch. It's what from what I remember. It's like, oh no, they being too loud. They know where they at.
The creepy makeout scene is what killed me. Like the zombie
Oh,
just, yeah, getting a
what?
hold of Tess.
Well, you remember, I want to say in the game, that scene kind of didn't really play out. It definitely did play out the way it did in the show. But of course, we did get the creepy. But I want to say, wasn't they fighting a fraction when that happened instead of just walking?
Yeah, they were running from Vedra.
Yeah. Okay, that's what I thought. I thought they was running for somebody instead of just be like, oh no, we was fighting off clickers and one of them got me. Yeah.
Yeah,
So.
and there, with one thing I didn't bring up too during my episode talking about differences is how they made Kansas City where the first time you see a bloater and bloaters throw like pieces of them at you, and
Mhm.
when they explode they make puffs of spores. So instead they just had super strength when it came to the series. Like you see them literally grab a guy's head and just rip it
Yeah,
off.
you rip it off. Yeah. Well, see, that's another thing where people have to understand when you play a video game, you are in, you're in that environment. That's part of the gameplay that you have to have. With film, it'd be kind of hard because you're like, oh no, none of us has masks. We're going to be all affected. In the gameplay, you're like, oh no, I got 5 seconds to click this button and throw my mask on. If not, I'm gonna end up seeing the screen that says, "We'd like to try on your last previous save." Yeah.
That is very true. And it did, at least with the series, it's been more upfront about how the infection spread. Joel did not get infected because he did not have stuff to make pancakes. Like, my house, we would have been fucked. Like, it would have been over because
Yeah. Y'all got pancakes, and I get a message. You want to come over? I made breakfast. I was like, I'm on my way.
you're like, I'm there mainly for the coffee.
The pancakes be good too. The pancakes be good too. They're not too terrible. You know how I like my pancakes. Giggity.
So, the other question that I had for you, and it's not even so much pertaining to The Last of Us, it's just The Last of Us environment. Do you have a zombie apocalypse plan?
The short answer is no. the long-winded hypothetical theory of it is a long yes. I actually need to start reading that survival book you gave me that you got from somebody, so I can get a little bit more prepared for it. I'm just kind of hoping if something does happen that way, where something takes over your mind, either I'm already gone or I'm somewhere ducked off by myself lonely because I don't know how. No, I ain't gonna say I don't wouldn't know how. That'll be just something a different thing to cope with.
I've seen how you are with your afternoon naps, and you will Rick Grimes it, where you're gonna wake up and the apocalypse will pretty much already like have happened, and you're just gonna be
Okay.
like, "What in the hell is going on?"
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's it. That's just a different subject. And now we're in survival mode, and this is what we got to do. Yeah, that's probably most likely how my plan will go into play. With about like 50 missed calls and unanswered text messages on my end. So yeah, where were you? Text y'all back. Y'all still good? That was 2 hours ago. Oh, my bad. That's knocked off. Yeah.
Yeah, I figure you'll come out your door and you'll just smell something burning. There'll be cars wrecked. There'll be people screaming somewhere, and you're just gonna be like, "What in the hell happened?"
Yeah, I think I'm gonna grab some weapons that I have planted in the house. Then I'm making a phone call, make sure service is still active. If I did pay attention, no lights was on in my house. I'm gonna make sure that's on. Yeah, I'm doing I'm gonna do a spill, and then I might get in the truck and creep on through for a minute.
So you did say that you played The Last of Us Part 2. You just did it briefly. You only made it to Seattle.
Yes, there was. I didn't like how the direction of the game, the back and forth, and then after a certain scene, kind of took me from out of the game because that was kind of a wild expectation.
I get
I
that
I
because
would
I was
say
the
the
same
way
way
they
at
would do it.
first.
Yeah, yeah. I would say if they would have done it a certain way or gave it a little bit more time to when it happened. Trying not to do spoilers here, just in case people just watch the shows. But I would say most likely I would have been more involved with it. Then you end up playing as another person, and I'm like, okay, yeah. If they done the pacing to the story much better than it was done, I most likely could have stayed with it. The gameplay seemed like it was like on the first one. Not too not too much changes from there. From what I saw, you actually finished it, was able to enjoy it. It's just that when we started with our original cast, if you want to say, and then the game tried to introduce other people without a background story, it kind of you loses a little bit of the value to it.
See, and I think like I'm on board with you for the most part with that. There's this little golfing mini game that kind of takes you out of the story to where
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
yeah, it makes you almost want to like not really continue. But to me, there's what you're talking about with the other character that you don't know much about. I've been kind of let down by that so far in this series, and maybe that's going to change. But at this point, only the first episode of season 2 is aired, and it immediately brought in Abby standing over the grave of the Fireflies in Salt Lake City, and she's hanging a Firefly necklace over a grave, and she's like, if we find Joel, we kill him slowly. And that was a big reveal in the game itself because, like you're saying, you're playing somebody you don't know really much about. You don't know why you're playing this person. You don't want to play as this person. You're wanting to stay with the tried and true characters from the first game. But when you get to the point later in the story that the reveal happens on who Abby is and why she is heading down that path, it really makes you try to relate to a character to where you hate this character so much, but you understand why, even if you don't agree with it.
True. I see throw names out there, so we can unload. I still haven't watched the first episode of season 2 yet. You know I like the beans, so I'll probably wait till the third one comes out until you unless you invite me back on your lovely podcast here and be like, boy, we got things to talk about. So uh, I will say in the games they did do it more discreetly. You didn't know she was out for a vendetta. And then you're just like thrown in this lap and you're like, okay, well, who's this character? Why did I need to have a deep connection with this person to care about playing it? And then the gameplay from her, Abby, and then I'm about to call her Elsa. Been watching too much Frozen at your house. Ellie, it's so different. It's like night and day. And it takes you out. Now you're here punching people in the mouth and taking down. You know what you feel? You feel like you're like a kind of like Batman because you just like you got takedowns and I'm hitting you in the mouth.
Yeah, because in the game you go from Ellie, who's probably like 135 pounds soaking wet, to Abby, who is built like a brick house.
Oh yeah. And I'm waiting for a more reveal on TV show so I can unwind and let loose if I'm brought back on the cast. So
I would say catch up after next week's episode and be ready.
Okay.
Because if you want to come back for that,
I'll come back for that one.
That's what I think.
Little moment.
I think the next episode's going to be intense.
I'm gonna say I haven't saw the first one, but I will say I'm gonna think they're gonna try to drag it out. If they don't drag it out, then they're doing true to the game, to me. Spoilers again, but
all right, Gerald. I guess that's really all the questions that I had for you. Is there anything else that you want to bring up pertaining to The Last of Us, or?
No, I think we covered pretty much good. Actually, you know what? I actually wanted to say one thing. So in the games, TV show didn't really show it as well. You remember where Joel gets injured and wounded? The game kind of allows you to let it seem like it's months that have been passed. They didn't really do it in the show, from what I recall. I'm just wondering how this 13-year-old little girl basically was like, I gotta take care of this grown man and his wounds, and I gotta get medicine for him. Which we know how she got medicine for him, but just still. And then she's like, oh, well, I also know how to hide from other people. Now I know how to hunt. I mean, the game does a way much better adaptation for it, but I thought it was always an interesting moment that you think in this little. Well, is she still 13 in the show? I think she is, isn't she? Yeah, she should be.
Yeah, in the first season she was.
Yeah, okay, I thought so. Yeah, I thought that was always interesting that you put a 13-year-old girl that had to take care. Well, the human nature want to survive and want to protect people.
It definitely didn't play out over a day like it seemed like it did in the series.
No. Then we ain't gonna talk about what was his name? Was it Dave? Yeah, we're not gonna talk about Dave. I think his name was Dave. Was his name Dave? The one that was like, it's okay. We got a community here. We just want to build. Or capitalist.
It's David.
It's David. Okay. Not you, Big Dave, but David. Well, thanks for having me.
It's been a pleasure having you on, Gerald. I hope you're going to come back for plenty more episodes. Is there anything that you want to add before we get ready to close this out?
No, we're good. This is just Gerald with a J today. In the morning, I'll be spelled with a G. Government job. And now, y'all have a good night.
So once again, my name is Adam. I'm your host of Loot, Lore, and Lights. Please like, subscribe, share, tell your friends. These recordings are all that we have now. a testament to the tales we've found, to the worlds we've glimpsed, and the secrets that refuse to stay buried. The signal is weak, but the stories are strong. Take care.